Hey everybody, it's Dan and welcome to Drinking a Movie. As you know, on this channel we pair cocktails and spirits to great movies, and tonight we've got a great pairing. But before we get into it, per usual, I'd like to reach out to you and ask if you could please subscribe to the channel, please click that like button on this video, and please click that notification bell which will let you know when new videos are posted. It does go a long way to help me out, and I really do appreciate it. And I want to thank you for taking time to watch this video. Okay, so tonight we're going back to Japan. First, we'll be making a whiskey-based cocktail that's very easy, very tasty, and it happens to be the most popular drink in Japan right now. And then second, we'll be looking at the film from 2003. It's an American film, but it takes place in Tokyo. And together it's a great pairing. So, without further ado, you ready for some relaxing times? Take it away, Bill.
For relaxing times, make it Suntory time.
Alright, first on the menu is a classic highball made with Japanese whiskey. Now this one's going to use some bitters, and it's going to use ginger beer. It's super tasty, it's not too strong, and it's just a beautiful flavor combination. Next, in honor of Women's History Month, we'll be looking at the 2003 film Lost in Translation. Now this film was brilliantly made by Sofia Coppola. She does a masterful job with it. Excellent story, excellent payoff. I can't wait to talk about the movie. But before we do, let's make that highball. Okay, so let's talk about the highball. Now there are tons of varieties of highballs out there, and that would lead to the confusion on where it was initially created. Now, of course, like many cocktails, there's high debate on origin stories. However, the Adams House in Boston is one such place that lays a claim. Don't have any kind of definitive proof on that. Also, there's a New York barman, Patrick Duffy, who claimed the highball was brought to the U.S. in 1894 from British actor E.J. Radcliffe. Now, again, can't verify that story, but in any event, it doesn't matter. It's still a classic. It's still very tasty. So highballs, we talked about it before, are very popular in Japan, and they're often made with Japanese whiskey, and that's what we're going to do here tonight. You know, and just like any other highball, they're enjoyed very similarly to how beer is enjoyed, and often with food or at parties, and in this case, with a movie. So, let's start making our cocktail. Alright, first, we need a classic highball glass filled with ice. And then we're going to pour in 3.5 ounces of ginger beer. Again, here's the ginger beer. It's non-alcoholic, but it does have a lot more kick and a little bit more bite than a ginger ale. So we want 3.5 ounces. And with my OXO jigger, I'm going to do 2. And then another 1.5. So we have our 3.5. Again, Bundaberg is a good brand. You can find ginger beers at most supermarkets or grocery stores. Really good mixer for a variety of cocktails. Must have in your fridge, in my opinion. Alright, then we're going to add some soda. Now this soda we want to add so it's about 2 fingers from the top of your glass. So we'll just kind of eyeball it. This just gives a little bit more fizz. And again, club soda, another basic ingredient for barkeepers. Doesn't matter the brand in my opinion, but club soda goes in. And then next we want to add on the top the whiskey. So I have, the brand I have is Kaio. Now Kaio is a Japanese whiskey. This particular one is at 43% or 86 proof. What's interesting about the Kaio whiskey is that, similar to Jefferson's Ocean bourbon, this does spend a number of years aging on ships at sea. So the theory behind that is you get kind of those rolling waves and kind of the tumultuous back and forth motion, and so the whiskey gets to bounce off of the inside of the barrel that it's aging in. So this whiskey's aged in Mizunara oak, casks, which are Japanese. And what's interesting about that is it really gives it a distinct flavor that you don't get from other oak barrels around the world. So this has a little interesting, more Asian flavor than perhaps some of the other whiskeys that you may have had. Now, what we want to do with this is add 1 ounce. And you may be wondering why I have this small little bottle. So I had a membership with Flaviar. You can see the label there. And Flaviar was it's a spirit club, and every quarter they would send you samples. And in one quarter I asked for a Japanese sample pack, and this lovely edition was put in there. I'll show you a picture of what the bottle actually looks like in the store. I'm not 100% certain of its availability in the U.S., but Flaviar was a really cool little gift my wife got me, and I enjoyed it. I'm not a member this year, but perhaps I will again soon. So, yeah, Cayo is a great whiskey, and those samples were fantastic. Okay, so with our whiskey in there, next we want to add a dash of our bitters. Angostura bitters, very common, another bar essential in my opinion. And we want to go 1 dash of that. Excellent. And then we want to give our cocktail a stir. Doesn't have to be a long stir, nice and easy like so. And then finally, we want to top it off with a little orange wedge. So there you go. Classic highball Japanese whiskey. Let's go give it a try and check out that movie. Welcome to the movie chair. Now, before we begin talking about the film, let's talk a little bit about our friend the highball here. So, again, these ingredients, classic variation. Some of them use bitter, some of them don't. Typically when I'm at home, if I'm just, in the course of an evening, I might make a highball with just whiskey and ginger ale. So the ginger beer kind of takes that up a little bit, plus the addition of those bitters included as well. So let me give you this a taste. Okay, yeah, even though the ginger is up front, obviously, that soda tempers it down a little bit. However, it does not really take away from the whiskey. And even though there's only 1 ounce of whiskey in here, I do get that oakiness from that whiskey, the Cayo, and it's really nice. I think it works really well. Of course, the bitters always kind of play against the ginger nicely here. So really refreshing, really tasty. I really recommend giving it a shot. Easy to make. Even if you're not using Japanese whiskey, you could do it with Jameson's, you could do it with bourbon, you could do it with a rye, Canadian. Anything you want from a whiskey variation works so well with this cocktail. It's really nice. Okay, let's talk about Lost in Translation. Now, when this film came out in 2003, it was met with a lot of critical acclaim. You had a number of nominations and awards given to Sofia Coppola for her role as director and for her screenplay. And then also a lot of recognition for Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson in their lead acting roles. And I'll get into all of those things for sure, but it just tells you that at the time this came out, it was really a breath of fresh air, and Coppola delivered on so many accounts. So, before we get into that story too deeply, let's talk about my 3 keys. So number 1, Sofia Coppola. So her directing is spot on, just a fantastic vision, and she brings it to life so beautifully, and we'll get into that for sure. Key number 2 is the performances of Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. A great 1-2 punch, and they work so well together on screen and in the story, and we'll get into them and their performances as well. And then third is the Tokyo vibe. I mean, it's just a cool city. It's shot so beautifully. There's a lot of energy. It's very vibrant. You just really get sucked into the space and the time, and it's almost like a dreamland the way it comes off, and it really fits the story perfectly and for where the 2 characters are. So we'll get into those things for sure, But those are my three keys. Okay, Sofia Coppola. Now, she is the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola, and quite a large shadow to get out from under. But not only does she get out from under his shadow, she's created a long shadow of her own. She's simply that talented. In my opinion, she's probably one of the great contemporary filmmakers we have. And that's just a testament to her own creativity, her vision, her storytelling, and putting it all together, which she does in this film masterfully. So when we look at this film, you're looking at two lost souls who are disconnected from their lives. You've got one who's got a family back at home and another who's just starting. And it's just this disconnection, and you see this isolation that they're suffering. And then when they meet, it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. So although these two people are at very different places in their lives, they have a lot of similarities. And it's these similarities that when they do meet, that make a significantly strong bond. And it really, really works well. Now, Coppola, she definitely controls her story. She allows us as observers to see the virtual sparks that ignite when these two lost souls meet. And she also just masterfully keeps us guessing if this relationship is platonic or romantic, leaving us to draw our own conclusions. Now, that's a risky move for a director, but it works so well here. And it's funny how you could see this movie with somebody and have a completely different opinion or take on what's going on between these two and their relationship. In terms of style, Coppola uses camera movement, she uses lighting, contrast, even color to communicate the energy of a scene. So Coppola lets the camera do the talking for her. It's all about the visuals. There's very, very sparse dialogue overall, and she really lets the actors convey and push the story along through their facial expressions, through their eye movement. You really get a sense of what they're thinking, where the story's going, and it really works really beautifully. Now, that also segues really nicely into our second key, which is Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, because they're the ones who really bring home Sophia's story in the way they act. So let's talk about them. Both Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson give very quiet performances, yet very powerful performances. Now, Bill Murray plays a character named Bob, who's a past his prime movie star who happens to be in Japan shooting commercials for Suntory whiskey. And he's lonely, he's unhappy in his life, and he's feeling detached from his wife and children back in the States. Now, Bob meets Charlotte, who's played by Johansson, and she's a very young, recent college graduate and newlywed who happens to be in Tokyo with her photographer husband, who's played by Giovanni Ribisi. Now, he's in Tokyo doing work as a photographer, so she has a lot of free time on her hands, which really builds that isolation up. Now, like Bob, Charlotte is also unhappy, lonely, and feeling detached. And she spends her days in isolation walking through the city, desperate for any kind of feeling. Eventually, Bob and Charlotte meet, and they find a connection they both have been yearning for. And when Charlotte's husband leaves for a few days on another assignment, Bob and Charlotte spend time together, and this bond that they have just grows and deepens and strengthens. Again, it's a natural assumption to believe that this is a romantic relationship. However, there is no evidence of that. What we do get is two people who connect very clearly on a deeply emotional level. Now, this connection blossoms beautifully under the lights and in the energy of Tokyo, which leads us to our third key. Modern Tokyo really comes alive in this film. From the brightly lit billboards, the neon lights, the music, the energy, the people, it all comes alive in this massive city and provides a really startling backdrop for Bob and Charlotte to have their connection. This is like a love letter to Tokyo from Coppola, and the city is very much an active participant in the way the story unfolds. So in conclusion, I highly recommend this film. Sofia Coppola delivers on all accounts, great directing, great story, and of course the performances from Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson are spot on. You really grow to love their characters. Now, the city is beautiful, the backdrop's amazing, there's great music, the people are fun, and you even get to see Bill Murray do karaoke and kill a Elvis Costello song. It's a great scene. So, and if you're going to watch the movie, pour yourself a highball. Simple to do, very common ingredients you can find. If you don't have Japanese whiskey, use any whiskey. It'll all work fine. I'm interested to hear what you think. What was your favorite part of this movie? Did you see it? Are you planning to see it? How about the highball? Did you make it? What are your tasting notes? What do you like about it? I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Please leave a comment. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you get a chance. It means so much to me. I really appreciate you being here with me. Until then, till we see each other again, stay happy, stay healthy. Cheers.